Again. Hi guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back to my channel. I have my lovely mother here today. Sage is out of town this weekend, and so we thought it'd be fun to have a little girls' day. And we've been talking about astrology all day. We recorded an astrology podcast that's going up this week, so make sure to tune into that. It's gonna be really good. And so I thought it'd be good to do a video with her too, and we can talk about astrology, just have some wine, have a gals night, and film it for you guys. So cheers to that. Make sure to subscribe, and yeah, let's get into it. So one thing we talked about, we covered a lot of topics in the podcast, we went all over the board. Answered a lot of your questions, talked about the basics of astrology and like all of that. So you definitely should listen to that to learn more of there's blue, more of just the basics of astrology and understanding everything. But since we already did that, I didn't really want to do the exact same thing for this. So I thought it might be interesting for my mom to go over my birth chart with you guys, just so you can learn more about me. And also it's in Vedic astrology, which is different than Western, which is what I normally talk about and what you and I probably know most. I've already talked about this. We talked about it in the podcast, and I also did a video about this a long time ago, but if you wanna figure out your chart for Western and just kind of get into it, astro.com is my favorite place to do it. You make an account, you have to know your exact birth date, birth time, and where you were born, like the city you were born, and then it'll calculate your birth chart, and I'll put up a picture what it looks like. And then on the left hand side there's like a key, and it has a symbol with a planet next to it, and then you can find that symbol in the wheel, and wherever that symbol is, look at the triangle, find the number. I know it's so confusing, like how do you even explain it? Find the number and then type in whatever that is. So I'll put mine as an example, and I would have, I think I have Venus in the 4th house. I think I have Venus in, yeah, I do. So
you do in this.
I have Venus in the 4th house, so I would type in Venus in the 4th house meaning, or Venus in the 4th house on Google or on YouTube, and it'll give you a very nice description. So you can go through your whole chart that way, and your mind's gonna be blown because your chart is so much more than just your sun sign that you hear that you are and find in the back of the magazine, and it's not accurate and maybe you don't relate to it, but there's literally so much more going on. Yeah. You have your big three, your sun, your rising, and your moon. Talked about that. But again, we go very much into depth in all of this in the podcast, so I'm like, I don't want to repeat ourselves necessarily, but at the same time, I don't want people to be confused. So yeah, and I'll link the video where I talked about all of this down below too. So, do you want to talk about Vedic briefly, what it is?
Sure, I thought maybe it would be helpful to hold up the chart. Just, I don't know where to put it, right? But just so you can see, it looks really different. It's squares and triangles, and Vedic astrology, also known as Jyotish, is thousands of years old. From
5,000 maybe?
5,000 maybe, it's kind of a guess, but it's from ancient India. And a lot of the terms are Sanskrit terms. And it was based on what people could see with their naked eye at the time. And Rahini and I have talked about the outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. You couldn't see them in the sky, so it's not a part of this system.
And they are in Western.
And they are in Western. So Western evolved, much later, and
in the Western countries.
In Western countries, and there are all different kinds of astrology. There's Egyptian astrology and Tibetan, and a lot of cultures have their own form of astrology. But I was really drawn to this one, and it's often seen as a little more predictive than Western astrology. And I can tell one story. I was at a party with a bunch of astrologers, and my teacher was there, and some famous people were there, and we were all kind of walking around looking at each other's charts. And there was an Indian man who was a very well-known astrologer, and he looked at my chart and he just said two words, damn bad. And then he walked off.
And you're like, great.
So a Western astrologer would not say that, you know, it's more counseling and, you know.
Using what you've got.
Use a whole different approach, but we laugh about that because that's all he said. I know what he saw in my chart.
That's my reaction when I saw a chart.
And he just looked at it, you know, as sort of like, don't even try, you know, go crawl into the bed, just give up. So we laugh about saying damn bad, and I don't say that to anyone, and no one should say that, I don't think, you know, because every chart has something positive in it, has a strength that you can build on. And, you know, one thing in a Vedic culture, there are often remedies for things, you know, and like we were talking about
the rings?
The ring, wearing a gemstone or repeating certain mantras for certain planets.
So you're not screwed, basically. That's what's really cool. And it's, I would say, harder to learn than Western. There's less information on it, I feel like. Because Western is what we all know. It's what's in the back of the magazine when you read your horoscope. It's what the podcasts are. It's what co-star is. It's like becoming more modernized. I don't know of any trendy apps that are Vedic astrology. Like, and the language is like extremely like Rahu, Ketu, Jyotish, like other words that just it's another language that's like not commonly used, especially in America, would you say? The US? Right. Sanskrit is an ancient language, right? Do people speak Sanskrit in India?
No, it's not really.
It's in like it's in text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In songs and chants and in written text, but not so much a spoken language.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I've never tried to learn Vedic because it's just so different that I can't even deal. Because like, what the heck? This isn't the 11th house, but it says 11 on it. It's
that
the
means
4th
Aquarius.
House. See what
11th sign.
Could not do it. So it's really interesting because I obviously grew up hearing about this type of astrology, but then once I got older and went to college, I wanted to learn about Western because it was just easier to learn about, more accessible, more trendy. And so I did with my friend Mia, and we just kind of got into it, and now I'm really interested in it. I definitely am not like an expert at all. I'm very much a beginner, very much so. Like, she's been practicing like 25 years and she still says she's like a beginner.
There's always more to know.
There's always more to know, but it's very interesting.
But it is interesting, and in terms of which takes longer to learn, I wouldn't really say that because I don't know. But like your friend Nadine, who's a great Western astrologer, she's been at it for many years. You know, so to get really good at anything, you gotta put in the time and
that's true.
Study.
I just think it's an extra level for Vedic because it's literally another language. Like completely, you have to learn. And you said a lot of the texts are old, so it's like talking about like a cow when you have to interpret that in like modern times. Like, what does this cow actually mean in 2020?
Some things like, you know, making an offering, like if you're having a hard time with the planet, like we were talking about Mars earlier, you know, the ancient Vedic scriptures might say, you know, to give a cow you know, on the full moon and a bag of corn or something, a bag of rice. So some of that doesn't translate that well. You
could probably do it. It probably would work, but it might be a little bit harder to find a cow.
Culture. Or have a fire ceremony, or
I don't want to have a cow.
Things like that. You would like the cow part.
I would like the cow because of my pets. The cow would be a pet for me. This video is sponsored by Green Chef. Yay! I am so excited about this sponsorship because, as you guys know, I love to cook. And this makes it so freaking easy. I have always wanted to try a meal delivery service and I never have. So I was so excited when Green Chef wanted to work with me because they offer so many great meal plans that work perfectly with my diet, my lifestyle, and they have great options for everyone's lifestyle, no matter how they like to eat. So what is Green Chef? Green Chef is a USDA certified organic company. Their meal plans include paleo, plant-powered, keto, balanced living, and family. I went for the plant-powered option because, as most of you know, I am vegan at the moment and I have really been enjoying trying out new recipes and getting new ingredients that I wouldn't normally buy at the store. All of the ingredients are seasonally picked for peak freshness, which is great because sometimes I don't know what's fresh at the moment or what's in season, so they do that for you. The ingredients come pre-measured and pre-proportioned and mostly prepped, so you literally barely have to do any work. You just get to throw it all together, which for me is the funnest part of cooking. Eating clean is very important to me, and especially having high quality ingredients. I always try to buy organic, so this is totally in line with my beliefs. And Blue, he's here also, so I'm very excited about this partnership. Green Chef is offering a discount code for you guys if you want to try it out. Those meals literally are so delicious. I'm so pumped. It looks like a restaurant. If you want to use the code Rohini60, I'll have it on the screen. $60 off your first 3 weeks, as well as free shipping on your first box. Go to greenchef.us/Rohini60 to redeem your code. That is greenchef.us/Rohini60. They all sound really good. I think I might go with this teriyaki portobello rice bowl because, like I said, it's very like different flavors than what I normally cook with, and I'm really excited. I love mango, I love portobello mushrooms, and I think my mom would enjoy that one too. So we have kale, and it feels so fresh. Again, like they pick it at peak freshness. This feels super, super fresh. Ooh, yummy vegan sriracha ginger mayo. Then there's cilantro. There is cabbage and carrots, also fresh. Basmati rice. We have cornstarch. Edamame, I love edamame. And then we have pineapple. We have teriyaki sauce. And we have black and white sesame seeds. Organic portobello mushrooms. Whoa! This is so cool. Look at those mushrooms. These are huge and they look amazing. So they're like the size of my face. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Are you kidding me? Okay, Mom, come on in the frame.
Hi.
Here we go. Hi, here's my mom.
Wow.
And here is our dinner.
This looks fabulous.
Doesn't it look amazing? Like, it's so gourmet.
I'm very hungry.
It smells really good. I'm really excited about this. Like, this is something I would never think to cook, but
It's all healthy stuff we can eat.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Green Chef. That's really good. That's delicious.
Very good.
We also talked about this on the podcast, but you could talk about why you like astrology, like what it means to you or what you use it for.
Yeah. I just find it a helpful tool to kind of interpret what's going on in my life, and so that's one reason it means a lot to me. And what we talked about, often it's helpful for people if they're having a really hard time to have someone else who's neutral just say, oh yeah, I can see you're having a really hard time, like without even
acknowledging it,
even telling me that. I can tell by looking at their chart, you know, that that's the case, and it's such a relief to people. And then to say, okay, looks like in a few months, you know, the planets are going to move, you're going to feel so much better. And that's really helpful.
It's a big relief.
Big relief. So I'd say that's one of the main ways, and I use it myself. And sometimes I'm good at looking at my chart and understanding things, and other times it's like, it's opaque to me because I'm too close to it because it's my chart. So I have to go to
Someone else.
someone else.
Do you have anybody you go to now?
Not right now, but I have a couple of people I follow on YouTube that I learn a lot from.
She's on the tube.
So in the system, person's sign may change. In this system, we primarily go by the ascendant. Some Vedic
the rising sign.
Rising
Western,
sign.
that's also what it's called.
Yeah, and some Vedic astrologers go by the moon. So you look at both ascendant and the moon, but I focus primarily on the ascendant. And in this system, Rohini is a Virgo.
Not an Aquarius.
Not an Aquarius. And in this system, I am the Aquarius, so
Which is funny.
it
it's just completely different because she's an Aries in Western. So that's another thing we didn't really go into Vedic that much on the podcast because we thought it would be confusing because mostly what we were talking about was Western related stuff and the lingo is completely different, so we didn't want to confuse people, especially because there's no visuals. It's kind of hard to explain. So yeah, but it's a very different system.
And what I thought we might do is in January, I gave Rohini a mini reading and update on the year ahead. And I thought it might be fun now that we're halfway through the year to look back and see what was accurate and what was not. So I'm looking now at what I told her. And one thing I said was there'd be many, many changes in the home and family. You might possibly move.
Yep,
she did
happened.
Move in April, was it? So that was right. Pay attention to your mother. I think I worked that in. I don't think that was really in the stars anywhere, but I said
pay attention to your mother.
Pay attention to your mother.
Oh my god, that's funny. Well,
pay attention to issues concerning your mother. Actually, it was like some 4th house matter, I'm sure. That's why I said that.
You just wanted me to pay attention to you?
Yeah, and always
do that anyway.
Always mind your mother and give her great presents, and yeah. So I'm sure that was part of the reading. Just worked that in. And of course, when I was looking at this at the beginning of the year, I didn't know anything about the virus or what this would all, how it would all play out. So just have to say that right up front. So it was based on what the transits of her planets were for the year. So some things can be true even though they're not actualized. Like there's some travel in her chart later in the year, and I don't know if that's gonna be able to do that or not. So that's an example of, the planets indicate that, and she may have the urge to travel, but whether or not she'll actually be able to is another thing. And I remember I did say that some travel plans would be delayed, like in May.
Because I was supposed to go on some big trips, and she was like, those are gonna be delayed, and didn't know about coronavirus.
Yeah, so that part was right, but the other travel later this year, we'll see. One thing that I saw in your chart was that this would be a time this year where your psychic abilities would be heightened. So did you have any experience of that? Or?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just like getting more in tune with all of that type of stuff, like manifesting and spiritual stuff. And I had like a psychic reading a couple months ago, which she like told me a bunch of things that I didn't know, like that I couldn't have a strong, clear cognizance. Oh, it's just like feeling feeling something. It's from your gut, like feeling something before it's gonna happen, or like feeling like the energy or sensing other people's energy. Basically listening to your gut, and so I have to like train my gut too, so I can trust it. That's
or your gut's fine, but just being able to trust it.
Yeah, that.
You're already getting the information, but
But I don't know if it's like just something I'm thinking or something like
Maybe, or just dismissing. Because I know there've been a few times when you told me like you were thinking about somebody and they called and told you just what you wanted.
It's happening all the time.
Happening more and more, that you're like getting a sense of something before it happens.
Yeah, totally.
So that was in your
true.
chart too. And
you said that.
I talked about you'll be putting roots down, feeling more secure and grounded in your home with your family.
That's true.
And I didn't realize it's because you would be trapped at home. but it's true. You're cooking, you're getting very settled in your house.
And I like my little family. It's nice.
Happiness and security are coming alive this year.
That's good.
Let's see what else it says.
I'm a Scorpio moon in Vedic, which is wild because I don't know.
Virgo ascendant, Scorpio moon. And
very different than my Western. I'm an Aquarius sun, Virgo rising, and Sagittarius moon. Just briefly, because we did talk a lot about this on the podcast, but just so anyone's like, well, I don't know what any of this means. Like your sun sign is kind of your like ego, and I think I'm forgetting a lot about it, but it's like your basis of your personality, I'm pretty sure. And then your rising sign is what you show to others, like your first impression for others. Like if you have to give a speech or a talk at work or something, like what you're showing to your coworkers or like a new person you're meeting is your rising sign. And then your moon sign is like your emotional side. or in Vedic, it's your
mind.
Your mind, your emotional side, your inner world. And my friend Nadine says it's what you, who you show to your partner before bed. So like when you're very secure and safe and open, that's like your moon sign. And they also say like when you're born, you're your moon sign. When you're young, you're your moon sign, until like the ego gets involved and like society teaches you things, and then that you become your sun sign. And then the goal is to like ultimately become your rising sign, because that's like your highest self, I guess. So that's more of a Western thing, but yeah, but listen to the podcast because we talk about everything in there if you're confused.
And we don't want to confuse, but so I'm just doing a little brief glimpse of Rohini's chart. And in her chart, her strongest planets are in her 4th house. And you have special planets there. You have Mercury, which is your main planet. And
why is it my main planet?
Because you're Virgo, and Mercury rules Virgo.
Oh.
And so if you wanted to wear a gemstone, it's always good to wear the one for your primary planet. Like for you, it would be an emerald.
Oh,
and
that's cool. I like emeralds. I'm always jealous of people that have diamonds as theirs.
And sometimes that's Venus.
Oh, well, I have that too. But isn't Aries diamond?
No, Aries is Mars, so that would be like a ruby.
Oh.
But that's a fun thing about...
But maybe, oh, sorry. I think maybe in just April, I think it's diamonds.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm garnet, but I think maybe
April.
Diamonds.
But it's you wear a stone for the planet you want to strengthen in your chart. And so that's one thing I'm interested in Vedic astrology, because I like gemstones and things too. Like I have a yellow sapphire on this finger, and it's for Jupiter. So you wear the rings, different stones on different fingers in Vedic astrology to, help strengthen that in your chart.
Oh, interesting. And that's your yellow sapphire is your stone?
Well, this is for Jupiter, and I wanted to strengthen my Jupiter. But my Saturn is my main planet, which is why I wear a black shirt. Black and blue are the colors for Saturn.
Oh, yeah.
But the stones that I like to wear, I'm attracted to, are like lapis, and that's for Saturn. Blue sapphire, I also have a ring.
Oh, so I should get emerald.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or you could,
something I need to strengthen.
And your Venus is very strong, which we talked about
on the podcast. I'm a Venus baby.
Yeah.
Everything like jewels and perfume and gold and lavish and luxe and enjoy.
Very feminine.
Very feminine. Skincare and pampering and
and
good food, good wine.
One thing that's interesting to me in her chart is a lot of her best planets are in her 4th house of like home. So you work from home, you like interior decorating, so
makes a lot of sense.
Big
and in Western, I have a lot of planets in the 4th house too. In Western, my chart basically has all the planets in 4th and 5th house, like basically all of them except like 3.
And the other thing I was talking with Rohini about today is she has the planet Jupiter in her house of pets, and she just cannot get enough pets. And we were going through the list of pets from her childhood, and
so many had terrible endings too.
Well, and we didn't have good luck, but every time she wanted a younger brother or sister, which
wasn't happening. Wasn't in the cards. My dad was 48 when
yeah, and I was already pretty old when I had her. So every time she wanted a sibling, we would get another pet. So we kind of worked our way up.
Yeah, exactly.
We had goldfish, we had hamsters, we had
Slowly.
gerbils, we had rabbits, we had cats, and then
guinea pigs, then cats.
Guinea pigs, I forgot.
And then a dog, finally. If you just had gotten me a dog at first, we never would have had to have all those terrible guinea pig deaths. They had weird skin rashes. All of our pets, except our dog, had like these weird diseases.
Wasn't very successful. But anyway, her chart shows she really loves pets. I do not have this in my chart.
No, you don't. You only love pets like because you love the person that has the pets. Like you love Henry and Blue just because it's my but I'm obsessed with them. I don't think Sage has this either because I'm like obsessed. I tell Sage every day, I'm like, I just love Henry so much, and he's like, I know, you tell me every day.
Yeah, so that's the strong thing in her chart.
So which house?
Sixth house is pets.
And that would apply in Western too.
Also.
So if you have like, what would be a good Jupiter?
Jupiter expands things, makes whatever it is bigger.
What else would make you really like pets? Another planet in there? Your sun or something? No?
Maybe.
Moon?
Possibly.
Your emotions?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. But yeah, if you have Jupiter in the 6th house, you probably really like pets. Maybe you should be a vet.
I mean, there's a lot of different nuances to all of this, and something can mean many different things, you know, but like in general, like in a woman's chart, Jupiter tends to be the spouse or the husband, and
Oh,
like
really?
in Sage's chart, Venus would be the female, his wife would be Venus in his chart.
Jupiter is male.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah. Means,
Sage.
well, you have your husband is in the house of pets. That means
Oh my god,
He's
Sage
your-
is gonna love hearing that.
He's your pet. No. But they have a very strong connection in their chart. It's often good for a couple to have your ascendant and your moon,
Your rising
sign and your moon matching. Like
with the couple, yeah.
Rohini is a Virgo and Sage has Virgo moon. And my husband, her dad, is a Virgo and I have a Virgo moon. So we got a whole lot of Virgo going on in our family, but there's a real compatibility that way.
Understanding, I guess, right?
Yeah, because you get the person on a different level.
Yeah, so if you're a certain sign, if your partner is their moon sign, or vice versa, and you're compatible that way, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And that's one of the basic things. There's a lot to compatibility, but that's just one simple thing.
Would another one be your Venus sign? And where it is?
It could be. I mean, where the Venus is in Sage's chart and where Jupiter is in your chart.
Okay, see, that's interesting because in Western sometimes they just say like if your Venus sign is the same, then you might like communicate love the same way or something. But that's like different for Vedic. It's very different. So
Yeah. We don't want to get too confusing, but we were just thought it would be fun to check in on the things I told Rohini back in January that I don't even remember and she doesn't even remember. In the past life, your most recent past life was one of a lot of sacrifice. So as a result, in this life, you're kind of given a break in terms of the flow of things, not having to struggle so much.
Being able to start early, you don't have to work through a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's something we talked about too.
Yeah, I talked about that in my last podcast episode about manifestation. A lot of you guys had questions about it. I guess now we can just talk a little bit about, I don't know, our history with astrology. Like when did you get into it?
I think it was around college, maybe early 20s. And the first reading,
know that.
Yeah, first reading I had was Western. Maybe it was later than that. End of my, I guess it was right around my Saturn return. Actually, it was later 20s.
Which is like 28, 29.
Yeah, 28,
usually.
29.
And everyone has this, by the way. It always happens at that age.
Yeah.
Saturn return.
And
again at 59.
so that was very eye-opening because I felt like, you know, this woman was telling me all these things that I'd always felt or I knew about myself, but other people couldn't see in me. So, you know, after that, it really made a big impression.
I guess when I got into astrology, I've always known about astrology because you've always done it my whole life. You've always talked about it, you've always referenced it. When Mercury is in retrograde, you'd let me know. When there was a bad planet or whatever, you would always let me know. And I got a reading. Had you given me or gotten me readings before I was 16? I probably just didn't really pay attention, but
I don't know.
because you got one when I was born for me.
Yeah, and it was, I had someone who was at the birth. I gave her the job, write down the exact time because I knew I wanted the exact time.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't look at your chart for a while. Like for the first few months, I'm just like, here's a little baby. And I was just afraid to look because I don't know what I might see.
Yeah, that
so
makes
it took me
sense.
a long time to actually look at your chart.
It makes sense.
I might have given you readings, but I took you to a...
Yeah, I got my first official
Professional.
reading when I was 16 for my 16th birthday, and
that was from my astrology teacher.
And it said that Sage and I was the most compatible couple she's ever seen in her life, more than her and her husband,
More than me and my husband.
more than my parents, and she's been doing it for like 30 years or something, and
She does Western. She started with Western and then did Vedic, so she does both.
which is, yeah.
So she was looking at it from all different angles.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. We'd only been dating for like maybe 6 months at that point, and she said that Sage and I were gonna get married when I was like 20, and I was shocked. I was like, what are you talking about, lady? Like, I'm just turned 16. But that happened, and she said we were gonna have to be apart for a long time, but then once we got back together, we would walk through life hand in hand, like in our own direction, but side by side or something like that. Something like we would propel each other a lot farther, but we'd have to spend time apart first, which we did. We did long distance for like 2 years.
Made me feel so much better about this new boy she was dating.
Yeah, because I was so serious about him, and my parents obviously were supportive, but at the same time, like whenever any 16-year-old is in love, you don't necessarily believe it's gonna last forever. I wouldn't, as if I was a parent, I would be like, okay, honey, that's nice. But then once you heard that, you're like, oh shit, okay.
And we liked Sage, so that was great.
Yeah.
But it did have an impression once I saw his chart too.
Yeah, very compatible. Oh, that's true. She said that we were meant to get together in this life. And Sage's chart said that too, like he wouldn't be able to reach his full potential until he found me, so.
You remind me of that periodically.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's one way that astrology is commonly used too, is to see, you know, compatibility. That's a whole special reading people get, is to just look at the two charts together to see if they're a good match.
Yeah, I guess that's
And
good.
it's just really great for me that you have an interest in astrology too, and it's something we can talk about and
bond over, drink wine, and talk astrology.
And sometimes she tells me Western things about my chart.
Yeah. Yeah, your chart is equally scary in Western as it is in Vedic. That's okay.
But here I am.
But we talk about that and why she's had a great life despite having a scary chart on the podcast, so you'll have to find out.
It doesn't rule my life either. You know, there's a lot of truth to be found in a chart and in a reading, any reading that you might get from someone, but it's, you know, you don't need to just like follow it blindly or believe everything the astrologer says, or you need to use your own discrimination always.
Yeah.
When you're getting,
what'd you say? You still have free will. Everyone still has free will. You still will make the decisions ultimately.
Right. And that's really important point. That there might be some tendency showing in your chart, but ultimately it's up to you.
And yeah, if you recognize you have the tendency, you can correct it or grow out of it by acknowledging it and working on it. So it's not like you're stuck with it forever, because that's like the whole point, is it's showing you like where your highest self could be, basically. Right?
Yeah. So it's ultimately positive. You're learning about it to improve the quality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's an ancient system. I call it a science. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So just want to make this random little hangout video since we were already talking about it. We were both in the zone, the astro zone, and it's fun to have you here.
Yeah, even though Mercury's retrograde right now, so my speaking ability is a little impaired.
No, you did great. But the podcast episode is one of my favorites. I already know that. We had so much fun. It was so good. We answered a bunch of your questions. We literally covered basically all the basics, all the first things you need to know or how to get into it more. So would definitely recommend checking it out. Comes out on Wednesday. will have this video up before then. So get ready for it this week. And yeah, thanks for being on my channel. Thanks for being on my podcast. I told her, I'm really milking you for all your worth here. Let's get all the content.
I thought I was just coming for dinner.
I know. Well, and I cooked her a great dinner, as you saw. Very delicious. We really, really liked it. It was really good. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, hanging out with us. Hope you had some wine with us and learned about astrology, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.